Have you ever wondered why different scales in music have different key signatures? In this video lesson, we'll explore the basis of scales and what combinations of intervals make up a major scale. If we start on the note C of a piano keyboard and play all the white notes until we reach C one octave higher, we get a very familiar sounding C major scale. To those of us raised in the Western musical tradition, this sounds very familiar to our ears. The notes on the keyboard are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and lastly C. Some people may recognize them from their solfege names: Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So, La, Ti, and Do. Whatever names you give them, they are a series of pitches that are very common to the Western ear. Again, on the piano, this particular scale is represented by all of the white notes. Since we don't play any black keys, we can say that we are not playing any sharps or flats in this scale. Because of this, we can say the key signature of C major is 0 sharps or flats. Let's try a different scale. Again, we'll play all the white notes, but this time we'll start on a different note. Let's start on the note D and play all the white keys over an octave. How do these notes sound? Do they have the same familiar overall sound that we heard when we played the notes from C to C? There's something different sounding about this, isn't there? Let's try the same thing, but starting on yet another note. Let's play all of the white keys on the piano from E to E over an entire octave. Again, the sound of this series of notes is not quite the same comfortable musical pattern that we are used to when we play from C to C. Why is this? To answer this question, we have to look at a couple of definitions. Using a keyboard layout will help us best visualize and understand these definitions. In Western music, the smallest interval or distance between two pitches that we commonly use is known as a semitone. Let's start on the note C and move upwards by this small step or semitone. This note is the black key immediately to the right of C and is called C sharp, or sometimes D flat. It is the shortest distance or the smallest interval possible higher from C. We can say that the note C sharp is a semitone higher than C. Continuing higher, we can say that the note D is a semitone higher than C sharp. This pattern continues, and we can say that D sharp is a semitone higher than D, and E is a semitone higher than D sharp. Now we come to the portion of the piano where there is no immediate black note to the right of E. F is the note that is immediately to the right of E, so we can say that the note F is a semitone higher than E. The term semi is Latin for half or partial. In a broad translation, a semitone means a half tone. From this, we can say that a tone is equal to 2 semitones. Now that we have an understanding of what the interval of a semitone and a tone is, let's go back to our C major scale on the piano and see what is so special about these notes. We know that if we play the notes from C to C, we will get our familiar major scale. Now let's measure the intervals from one note to the next in this scale. We'll use this to build a blueprint for other major scales. We'll start by playing the note C. We know that the next note in the scale is D. To get from a C to a D, we need to travel 2 semitones or 1 tone. We can say that the distance from C to D is a tone, and we'll mark this interval with a T. The next note in our scale is an E. To get from a D to an E, we need to travel up 1 tone. Let's mark that interval with a T as well. Now we're on the note E. We know that we have to get up to F, but the interval from E to F is merely a semitone. Let's mark that interval with an S to represent the semitone. Now we are on F and need to get to G. That represents the interval of a tone. From G to A is a tone, and from A to B is a tone. We will mark them accordingly. Now we are on the note B and need to get to C to finish our scale. This interval is a semitone, so we will mark this interval with an S as we finish our scale. We are now left with a pattern of tones and semitones. T, T, S, T, 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 S. This is the series of tones and semitones that make up a major scale. We can now take this pattern and apply it to other scales. Let's take this pattern and apply it to a scale that starts on the note D. We'll mark the starting note D and look for the next note that is 1 tone higher than D. This note happens to be E, so we'll mark that and cross off the first T of our pattern. Now we are on the note E and are looking for the next note that is 1 tone higher than E. Remember that a tone is made up of 2 semitones. We can use this knowledge to find our next note a tone higher, which turns out to be F sharp. We'll mark off our F sharp and cross another T from our pattern. Now we are on F sharp and are looking for a note that is a semitone higher than F sharp. This turns out to be a G, so we'll put a mark on this key and cross off the S from our pattern. Now we are on the note G, looking for an interval of a tone higher. This is A, which we'll mark and cross off from our pattern. From A, an interval of a tone higher takes us to B. Now we are on the note B, looking for a tone higher than B. Remember again that a tone is equal to 2 semitones. Counting up 2 semitones from B takes us to C sharp. Finally, sitting on the note C sharp and looking for a semitone higher than C sharp will take us to our final note of D. Look back at the keys that have been marked as we went from D to D. You'll notice that 2 of the notes are black keys, or in this case, sharps. F sharp and C sharp are part of our D major scale. It is for this reason that when we write music in the key of D, we add these 2 sharps to our D major key signature. The pattern tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone is the specific combination of tones and semitones that give a major scale its unique sound. We can apply this pattern to any starting note in order to determine the notes and key signature of any of the 12 scales. By applying this pattern or blueprint to any of the 12 tones, we can determine the notes and key signatures to every major scale.